Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Terri Show. I'm super psyched, as always, that you're spending some time with me today. We're going to be talking about how to change your life, a step-by-step process. And why are we talking about it now? Well, last week on the Terri Show, we were talking about basically how to manage fear, right? We have fear of the unknown. How do we manage that? Because I couldn't just jump right into making the changes you want to make without addressing how much fear impacts our ability to take positive action in our lives. So, welcome to the show today. I am super psyched to do this. Listen, if you have not subscribed already to the YouTube channel and you're watching this on YouTube, hit the little bell. Do it right now. You don't want to miss a thing, and that will give you an alert when I go live. If you're listening to the podcast, hello. Drop me comments. You can go to my terricole.com and you drop it right under the blog. Thank you for all of the beautiful reviews. I super appreciate you guys. Thank you. The more you review and give positive reviews, the more people we can reach. And don't we want our ripple? Well, I want my ripple to go out there into the world and do something good. So let's get moving, shall we? This is episode 243. I believe it is. So to get the guide, the step-by-step guide, you just need to go to terricole.com/243 and you will get the download. Part of what really inspired me to do this episode is my mentor and friend, David G. You may know him. He is a meditation teacher. I actually am also a certified meditation teacher from him, but we've been friends and colleagues actually for almost 20 years. But he's someone who really profoundly changed my life because he taught me how to meditate at the Chopra Center a zillion years ago. And when he put up a post on Instagram about this time, this moment in time where our lives are so different than they've been. And he said, what if someone granted you the opportunity to step away from the insanity of your conditioned life? And they said, take a month, do whatever you want to do. Study, practice, anything you've ever dreamed of. You can't travel, but you can do everything else. Anyway, so it's a crazy awesome offer if that's the way you see this time and this new reality that we've had. Or you can look at it totally differently. In order to embrace or create this as an opportunity for your actual life, your personal life, you've got to really look at what is going on. There have to be changes that you've said that you're going to make in your life. We all do this. Things that we promise ourselves we're going to do, whether it's getting healthy, whether it's change careers, whether it's leaving a toxic relationship. And it can be very tempting when we're in the same old business as usual life to not make those changes. It feels overwhelming. We're tired, we're raising kids, we're making money, we're taking care of aging parents or whatever we're doing. But we also get into a groove of habitual behavior and a groove of habitual thought patterns. So I want you to think about your life right now. What are those things that down deep, if it's just you and you, that you know need to change? You would like them to change. Not just things like if your relationship is bad or you know it's abusive or toxic and you should get out of it. That's one thing. But your greatest heart's desire, whether it's to learn a language, whether it's to change careers, whether it's to learn how to dance, whether it's to get physically fit, whether it's to speak up more and be able to draw boundaries. There's so many things that we could want to do. Now is the time to do it. So let's start with what this time in history is for us. Whenever we're going to make big changes in life, a lot of times they're inspired by what I call game changers. So these are sort of peak experiences. A lot of times they can be scary, traumatic. For me, being diagnosed with cancer at a young age in my early 30s. That was a peak experience. When you're in a peak experience, you can't just go on the way you have been, which we talked about in the last episode. And if you haven't seen that one, it's terricole.com/242. You would want to check that out, I think, before you get into this one. COVID-19, pandemic, sheltering in place, life being different. This can be a game changer if we decide that it's going to be. Basically, it's a person, an event, a situation that changes your life. And this has. It changes the rules. It changes your thoughts. It changes your priorities, right? It literally changes the game of your life. So when people talk about this pandemic and they can't wait for things to go back to normal, we're never going back to normal because too much has happened. So I'm not saying our lives won't be more closely related to the way they used to be, but they also don't have to. Nobody has control over the way a global experience like a pandemic impacts us. The very foundation in our minds of the way the world is has changed. The paradigm in our conscious and unconscious mind, and that's collectively and individually, has changed. This is your opportunity, and they come more than once in your life. We all have peak experiences, but we're here now. So if there's something on your list, if there's something you need to change and you're just not sure how to go about it, think about that thing, and let's move into what are the steps, according to Terri Cole, to do that. First, before we get into it, I want to say, if you are an all or nothing thinker, I'm going to ask you to throw that out the window right now. Because real change and sustainable change really does happen in consistent, small steps. New behaviors, new choices, new decisions, consistently. That is what it's built on. So no matter how big the changes that you want to make, there is a way to break it down into small steps. So the first thing you're going to do, and all of this will be on the How to Change Your Life step-by-step process cheat sheet that you can download. It's actually a guide. So you're going to take an inventory of what is it that you would like to change? What is it that isn't working in your life? Could be relationships, could be anything. So you know what that is. But I want you to get honest, and I guide you in the downloadable guide. I'm actually, not to be redundant, I'm actually guiding you with the questions so that you can really get a comprehensive list together of what isn't working. And these are big changes, and they can also be small changes, because all changes, when we do them intentionally, hopefully elevate the quality of our lives and our relationships, right? This is what we want to do. So after you get your inventory, the next step is going to be identifying limiting beliefs and habitual thought patterns, kind of the inner mean person, the inner mean chick, the inner mean guy. What are the things that get in your way? So I'll be guiding you so that you can figure out what are the limiting beliefs, because a lot of times we really don't even know that that's what they are. Sometimes I call this your racket, right? A lot of times we'll have one or two really big limiting beliefs that we don't even know are beliefs that we can choose to reject, that we tell other people about ourselves, that whether it's I'm bad at math, I missed the boat, I don't know how to pick a partner, my picker is broken, one of my clients had said to me once. What else? My big racket was that I was born the wrong gender. I firmly believed my father wanted a boy and I was his fourth daughter. And what did that do for me? I actually thought that was a real thing. I thought that was true. And what did that do for me? Well, it made me feel like I needed to prove myself. I needed to prove something. I was as good as a boy, right? I was going to quote unquote prove my father wrong, although he never expressed that to me. But in a child's mind, because my father was pretty emotionally absent, it's almost like that limiting belief was less painful than facing the fact that maybe my father wasn't that interested in spending time with his family, which was true. I mean, I was able to handle that in therapy way later, but I was well into my 20s before that racket, that big limiting belief was revealed, and I was able to reject it and also accept my father was a flawed human. So yeah, I didn't get all the things I wanted from him, but he also wasn't horrible. So the truth is better than these limiting beliefs, which are really lies, whether someone else has told us or whether we've come up with them like I did on my own, to try to make sense of our world. Sometimes we create these limiting beliefs. So I'm going to give you questions that you can answer in this place. When you think about making a move, a change, what is your inner dialogue? What comes into your mind? Think about your folks, right? Because as you know, we all have downloaded blueprints about everything. Making changes is no different. So you might have had parents who were really good at making changes, who liked to make changes in their life, who you moved around, you did whatever. Maybe you're a military brat, right? So changes were a part of your life. A lot of people had parents who didn't like changes, who wanted things to stay the same. And whether you know it or not, that is impacting your ability to make the changes that you want to make in your life, unless you've had a lot of therapy or you've already gotten this stuff up from the basement of your mind, or your unconscious mind, as I call it, into the main part of the house, right? Because how can we change or transform that which we are unaware? Well, of course, you cannot. It is not possible. So in that part, and again, we're not blaming your parents. This is all raw data for you, information for you to set yourself up for success. We have to understand why we relate to change the way we do before we can relate to it the way we would like to. So moving on, step 3 is we're going to have sort of a perspective smack, let's say, if you need it, perspective shift. So I'll give you some questions so that you can get an idea of what is your perspective now. Are you more negative? Are you more positive? Reframing your perspective on your life, your worthiness, your capabilities, if that perspective is negative, is a crucial part of the process of successfully making life changes. Because you can't do both. You can't, what is that Henry Ford quote? Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. So this part, which is step 3, is going to be important for you to really identify what is your perspective right now on yourself. So it's really important, this part of it, to understand what your perspective actually is, right? What is the lens with which you experience the world and yourself in the world. So some of the questions in this part will be, when something isn't going your way, what is your first response to that experience? So we're going to kind of dial into your internal narrative for sure, but also this will help us identify those limiting beliefs, which is a really important part of this process. And then the next step in this process is about small changes. So the all or nothing people in the group, we're not doing that here. What does it look like to make small changes? So you may have a big list. So you're going to take the list that you did, the inventory that you did at the top, and then you're going to break that down. And under there, list actual steps that you can take to reach your goal. So let's say it was changing careers. What are small steps that you can take instead of feeling overwhelmed, instead of looking for all the evidence of why you shouldn't do it and why you won't make enough money if you do it, and all of the things that we fear, right, about change, and we can talk ourselves out of it very easily because, fear is a tricky bastard, as I like to say. Masks itself, it wears all these different masks, and it might be like, well, I'm just being practical. And hey, I'm not saying you don't need to eat, but I am saying you can be practical and still change careers. I did. Many people do it all the time. So if changing careers is your big goal, then what are some steps that you can take? Well, you can literally break it into bite-sized chunks where you go, okay, I can find out about the industry. I can see if I can talk to someone in that industry, in the world, get some like boots on the ground information about what's going on there. Do research. And that may not seem important, but it is, because a lot of times, and this happens in my own life, I thought I wanted something to change. I thought I wanted to change something. I thought I wanted to be in a particular industry and didn't do the research, and then got in there and actually didn't like what it was all about, because I had a wrong image of what it was. So don't waste your time. Realize that these small steps that you can take are actually, these are the building blocks to the changes that you want to make. If you're having problems in your relationship, what small steps can you take? Well, why don't you become an excellent communicator? Why don't you learn about that? Why don't you see how couples communicate effectively? Get brave. Get into therapy if you're not. You can, I've partnered with BetterHelp, and they're an online service that are amazing. My whole team vetted them. Basically, my whole extended family vetted them as well. And everyone had a great experience. It's available to you. Go to terricole.com/BetterHelp. And even if you do a short-term thing, you can learn so much in such a short period of time, especially during this time, because our regular defenses, because life isn't business as usual, are down in a way that they're not normally. So this is your way of taking advantage of the fact that something has changed and that we've had this global experience that not only has changed the world, but has changed each and every one of us. I hope it's a wake-up call. I hope it's a wake-up call for you, and that you don't have to be physically unwell. For me, cancer was a wake-up call that I think I really had to have in order to make the extreme changes that I did in my life at that time. Because now everything falls away. And you had to get really real. And this is a question you'll ask yourself. Are you living your best life? Are you happy? Are you satisfied? And if the answer to all of those things are meh, maybe a little, I'm not sure, you want to do more investigating. So really spend time doing the inventory that I gave you at the top and be honest with yourself about what's going on. A step in the small steps that you can take to make the big change is basically brainstorm with people that you trust, whether they're mentors, whether they're friends whose opinion you respect. You're not asking them their opinion on what you're doing per se, but brainstorm ways of finding out more. Take one class. That's what I did when I was switching from being a talent agent to becoming a psychotherapist. I actually took 2 classes non-matriculating before I entered into my master's program. Because I was like, I don't know, I haven't been in school in 10 years. Like, do I still have a brain enough to go to school? I guess we're going to find out. I also wanted to know if I would like it. And I loved it. And that gave me the impetus to go forward and do it. Those are some of the things that I've done. But you'll come up with your own way. And then the last piece of this is you're going to put those steps, the small steps, in your calendar for accountability. If you want, get an accountability buddy. So that someone is like, so did you make those steps? Have you brainstormed? Have you talked to this person? Have you looked into therapy? Whatever the thing is. Because you don't have to do it alone. And doing it with support is you're so much more likely to actually do it. Because when it's just you and you, or just me and me, we're like, well, who will know if I don't do it? Besides you. Maybe you make yourself feel bad. Maybe you beat yourself up. But that's not what we're talking about. So I want to hear what your thoughts are. on this whole entire process. I can't wait to hear what it is that you want to change. And just feel free to tell me that. I'll be posting in all the places I post. What is it that needs to change in your life? And let me witness you, because I would love to. And let me cheer you on like a wild maniac, because I would love to do that as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Terri Cole Show. To get your download, you're going to be going to terricole.com/243. I hope you have an amazing week doing your homework, quote unquote. And as always, take care of you.